Peace is a state of mind, first and foremost, and is about safety of self. State of mind because we need psychosocial tranquility in my own mind, in my own perception of life, and also I need to feel secure, peaceful. And then thirdly, I would say being peaceful is also being able to provide for your basic needs.
Peace is a process by which you accept the other person and you accept to live and interact with other people, and you accept the differences between you and accommodate them.
Peace to me is shalom. It's more than the absence of war or conflict. It's wholeness, and it's not something that just happens. It comes from inside. That means that for me, peace comes from a relationship with the Creator, God. And if I have no peace with God, then I cannot be at peace with other people.
When you talk of peace, especially from the Catholic social teachings of the Church, is that without the peace, we say there can't be development. And specifically in this our region, we are highly challenged of peace because most of our countries are not peaceful.
Peace is important, like the air we breathe. If human beings can't breathe a clean air, it's going to be difficult. At the same time, if there is no peace, we can't live. So peace is important, like the air we breathe.
Peace means being in a state of comfort, that aspect of, like, let's say, existing peacefully, of course, with my neighbors.
Peace is all about that societal friendship where there is harmony, acceptance amongst the people who are living together.
Peace is so deep for me. You know, we have to understand from aspiration of human existence, where people want to live in peace, in harmony, where they can realize the full potential of their life in mutually beneficial relationship.
Peace is that wholesome life. So for me is to be able to maximize my ability as an individual within the spaces that I occupy joyfully and freely.
Peace is the absence of direct violence, but the meeting of structural and cultural aspects that build a society.
The root causes of every single conflict in the world and in communities is exclusion. It's this deep feeling of people, of groups, of communities to be excluded from economic opportunities, from decision-making, from political choices. So this exclusion then triggers conflicts.
Peace and inclusion, I think, goes hand in hand. There's no way you can talk of peace, of course, without talking about inclusion. Because basically, when you talk about inclusion, it's all about bringing all the actors together.
There is a natural link between peace and inclusion, and if that natural link is not well maintained, that is when conflict, grudges, animosities take root, and they find expression in different forms, and then the peace context can be disturbed.
So it's really important that we take into account how we include people either politically, economically, and socially.
So the process of inclusion of every individual and community is important for creating harmonious and prosperous communities, because if individuals feel excluded and marginalized within any society, then a conflict will arise.
Inclusion is all about taking care of the views and the needs of the bigger society rather than concentrating on the needs and the views of the elite or of the smaller group of the community.
Inclusion does not mean that everyone gets a seat at the table of negotiation, but everyone needs to get an opportunity to actually give his ideas of how he wants his society to be.
When people are excluded, when people are isolated, disenfranchised, people feel unhappy and they find ways of, expressing that, and that can be violent.
It's the precondition that we have inclusive societies where people can be there and participate and be included in the world around them. That's the precondition for a peaceful and inclusive society.
I'd say the religious leaders, they have been described variously as the conscience of a nation. And so they have that singular responsibility of ensuring that people are whole.
The role of people of faith is to create an understanding of the inherent dignity of every human being and their aspirations and need to maximize on their potential and to live joyously and freely, so that if there are any obstacles and barriers for people living their lives maximizing their potentialities. It is the role of religious actors to minimize those barriers. For example, the right to health. Somebody cannot be at peace if their health is compromised.
It's important for religious leaders to focus on peace, importantly, as they engage in their work.
Knowing clearly the critical role that religious leaders have, they play quite a critical role in ensuring that, of course, peace prevails.
I remember going to a country like Southern Sudan, and they say, when you see a religious man, and especially those who have even white hair, speaking, people really listen unto them. They have a lot of respect. Even in Ethiopia, actually, the religious people are highly respected. Even in this country, Kenya, actually, they are very key, and especially in building peace in every community because of the honors and respect that they are given in the particular communities.
Religious leaders are social institutions. They represent institutions that are powerful in societies and have moral legitimacy to affect change or not. So when they come together, they are the most powerful force for peace in societies.
In any case or in any conflict, and the religious leaders come in to mediate and reconcile the warring factions, they stand a better chance because they have that exceptional capability and the capacities to bring people together.
Everyone has something to contribute to peace. So for example, women are very critical to peace processes because women are influencers. They have their own influence on the men of the society, on the children of the society, on the youth of the society. So when you bring women to the peace process, there's that uniqueness in influence that women bring that can cause people to, calm down and focus on the real issues.
If you look at various peace processes that have been successful, for example, the South Sudan case, where the women had, let's say, a national prayer day, and you find that these prayer days were being done monthly, to the extent that they were able to push the government and also various actors just to be able to, of course, come together and meet at the table, to talk about the mediation process and also sign the peace agreement. Looking at the Liberia situation, the way the women were able to use, their voice and that power of transformation just to force various actors, to close themselves in a room and, come up with a solution, that is critical.
It's critical that these women are included in any kind of peace process or any kind of inclusive approaches in the society. Number two, the youth. If you look at our continent of Africa, they're the majority.
So the youth bulge advantage, which is basically talking about the numbers. Majority of the people that we have are the youth.
We really need to ensure that the youth, one, get formal education. Number two, we provide opportunities for them for employment. And then number three, we also include them in different systems of governance in our society.
In most of the narratives, I think, that have been peddled around is that the youth are normally the perpetrators of conflict. In as much as, yes, we've got various actors that are normally involved in conflict, but then we know critically that there are youth who are vulnerable because of their weak economic basis.
Youth must be cultivated or helped to develop into agents of peace, agents of development of their own and of their communities.
They need to be the agents of peace. We need to have them participating in a peace process.
They're not victims, they are agents of change. And it's important that we acknowledge the fact that they are actually agents of change within our society today.
When it comes to women and youth, inclusion in peace processes, we can say, especially in the African continent, we have often more than 60–70% of young people, and we have definitely more than 50% of women. So it is very obvious that they need to be included in decision making and included into everything that happens.
We did some kind of a research and we realized that women actually engage contributors of conflict because of course they challenge men and they ask them, well, what are you doing or what are you not doing right, or are you not like other men in the other communities? And we have witnessed actually around cattle wrestling that has been highly caused by women who are inciting and singing songs that provoke men into war.
Women and the youth, looking at their numbers, even the community, they must be taken into consideration, so they must be included in each process to build peace.
Women are the main victims of every conflict, but they are ignored in the peace process. So I think giving women the opportunity to engage in the peace process is important, and it's helpful to transform the peace-building process and to make it more sustainable.
Women and youth are very powerful. Youth are the future of the country. Without youth, there is nothing in a country. And without women, there's not even babies. So